what I think, and you don't hear this anywhere, right? Nowhere. You may hear on Fox News, oh, gold, and you see the ticker. Yeah, it's probably the top. No, it's not. Because what you are hearing, if you look closely, is something I've never seen before, ever. 3 examples. Number 1, the chief investment officer of Morgan Stanley says, sell half your bonds and put 20% of your assets in gold. What did he just say? These are the guys that maybe would have said 5% and probably not even. Sell half of your bonds and buy gold. He said it's no longer the 60-40 platform that Wall Street's used for 50 years. 60% stock, 40% bond. No, make it 60-20-20, 20% stock. Michael Hartnett, the chief analyst at Bank of America, his newsletter is a fortune. Thousands and thousands of dollars a year. It goes to the institutional traders. He says, no, 25, 25, 25, 25. So have 25% stock, 25% bond, 25% short-term treasury. I mean, I don't know if there's something bigger than we already know in terms of the numbers, but the bottom line is we are broke and we are insolvent. And the reality of it is that our fiscal responsibility has to mean something at some point. When we are creating $1 trillion in 71 days, when we are indebting our future generations the way that we are, look, the world reserve currency since 71, when Nixon closed the gold window, is based upon nothing but trust. And who trusts us anymore with the constant bickering politically? I mean, really bickering. It's disgusting that the partisan fighting, a government that has gone into right, wrong, or indifferent. This isn't a political discussion or a discussion on war. But when we can say to Russia, we're going to kick you out of SWIFT and we are going to take call it sanction. We're going to take your $5 billion in U.S. treasuries, and we're going to give that in the form of weapons to the Ukraine, a country you're in the war with. As the world reserve currency, that's a problem. You're not supposed to make those decisions. It's supposed to be for the world opinion, not for the custodian or the issuer of the world reserve currency to be judge, jury, and executioner. And in particular, when you look at the way the rest of the world looks at us, so let me get this right. You guys have been in Iraq for 22 years. You went there under false pretenses. You didn't find the weapons you thought you did. You destroyed their country. You've toppled their regime, and you're still freaking there. And the money that they make in natural resource revenue, you make them hold it at the New York Fed, that you don't even let them control it. So how is that fair? Now, I'm not making a judgment or passing judgment. I'm a patriot, and thank God every day I was born in this country. But what I will say is the rest of the world looks at us as massive hypocrites. And then you talk about President Trump, who just said something yesterday that I find ridiculously stupid, and that is that anyone trades with Russia is going to get a 500% extra tariff. That's not a tariff. That's a sanction. A tariff is put in place to defend your manufacturing, not to sanction you. And when we go around the world as the most fiscally irresponsible country on the planet that is going around passing judgment, being judge, jury, and executioner, when what we do according to the way they see things is every bit as bad or perhaps even worse, the day of trust, the day of we will take your treasury because we trust you. And unlike the banks who say, yeah, I'm not going to trade with you because you ain't going to get you may not pay me tomorrow. Well, the rest of the world is saying that to us by the divestment of U.S. treasuries and the de-dollarization that you see happening. And I don't care what pushback you get from the milkshake theory or any of that stuff. And I think the milkshake theory is very, very smart and well thought out until it's not. And we're getting to that point where you would expect to see more dollar usage, as we've seen lately, towards the end of a system. In other words, take all the dollars you have and spend them on things. Buy gold, silver, rare earths, buy mining projects, buy farms, buy anything you can with your dollars, spend them while you still can. I think that is what we are seeing right now, but we are no longer trusted by the majority of the planet. We are no longer looked at. We once were the good guys. And I wonder how many people on the planet look at the United States as the good guys any longer, or do they look at it as what the hell's happened to that great country? Look at it under the previous administration, rather, where their actions were far too stupid to be stupid. I mean, what they did with immigration and lawlessness in the cities and the wokeness and the move away from meritocracy and all of this stuff that's, thank God, is kind of passing us. But even still, I think we are not trusted or revered or thought of quite the same way we once were. And if all of we do monetarily is based on trust, Houston, you got a problem. And I think that's what you're seeing. The retail market, when you realize that the mom and pop investor is all in the equity market, largest representation ever, about 55%. They are all in on option purchases, the largest amount of option play ever in the history of the market. And they are all in on margin, the largest margin exposure ever, 1.4 trillion. They are all in. At the same time, you see guys like Buffett sitting on 500 billion in cash. You see Bezos selling 6 or 7 billion worth of Amazon. You see a lot of the people divesting out of NVIDIA and moving to cash. Not a good sign. But what gives me what I think, and you don't hear this anywhere, right? Nowhere. You may hear on Fox News, oh, gold, and you see the ticker. Oh, yeah, it's probably the top. No, it's not. Because what you are hearing, if you look closely, is something I've never seen before, ever. 3 examples. Number 1, the chief investment officer of Morgan Stanley says, sell half your bonds and put 20% of your assets in gold. What did he just say? These are the guys that maybe would have said 5% and probably not even. Sell half of your bonds and buy gold. He said it's no longer the 60-40 platform that Wall Street's used for 50 years. 60% stock, 40% bond. No, make it 60-20-20, 20% stock. Michael Hartnett, the chief analyst at Bank of America, his newsletter is a fortune. Thousands and thousands of dollars a year. It goes to the institutional traders. He says, no, 25, 25, 25, 25. So have 25% stock, 25% bond, 25% short-term treasury, 25% gold. And maybe the craziest of all is the bond king, Jeffrey Gundlach. He says a 25% allocation in gold is not overweight. Now, these 3 guys, Chief Investment Officer Michael Hartnett and Gundlach, they're not speaking to the plebes. And the plebes are all of us. They're speaking to the institutional traders up at the top. They're speaking to the people who have brought in hundreds of billions of dollars of metal into COMEX since last November. Billions and billions and billions every month. Who the hell is it? Not a word on who it is. No one knows who it is. I have guesses, but who is it? That's who they're speaking to. So to your point, yeah, Jim Cramer talking about gold, run. CNBC and Fox, take it with a grain of salt. When these guys are talking, it's insane. And I will tell you that the level of business that we have, and we'll do a lot of 700-800 million in sales this year, a lot. That's mostly from much larger orders. Our average order size is getting pretty well near 6 figures. Not always. We work with all size clients, but you're seeing way more and way more 7-figure orders. But we're not seeing the tremendous flow that we saw during Silver Squeeze when everyone put even $1,000 into gold, silver, whatever they could get. 2,000 orders a day. Now it's 200 orders a day, but much, much larger from people who are paying attention. So no, the public is far away. They're all in on equities, on margin, and on leverage. As the insiders, whoever the hell they are the most well-informed traders in the world who are standing for delivery on COMEX and draining the LBMA. They know what's coming. These people don't do things just for the hell of it at that level. They know the inside playbook, if you will. And that to me is what gives me comfort. Not only are the top analysts saying buy gold 20, 25%, what do they really think? But whoever is importing this kind of quantity in gold and silver into COMEX, you have to say to yourself, these people at that level, they know what's going on and they are preemptively preparing when the public is just blissfully whistling Dixie into the stock market on leverage and on margin. What could possibly go wrong? So I think before it's all said and done, maybe this year, maybe next, you'll be standing room only and people will have to fight for tickets like it's the Rolling Stones farewell tour, Let's hope, right?